Hey, how's it going everybody? I hope you're all good. My name is Peter Gargan, and welcome back to the channel for a brand new video review of Penny's Big Breakaway. I'll be covering the Nintendo Switch version, but keep in mind that you can also play it on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as PC. With that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Penny's Big Breakaway is the first original game developed by the newly established Evening Star, a team consisting of many of the same people who worked on 2017's Sonic Mania, which actually happens to be one of my favourite games of all time. So naturally, I've been super excited for their first original new IP ever since it was initially announced in a Nintendo Direct last year. Being a momentum-based 3D platformer, you control Penny, an aspiring street performer with a sentient yo-yo that she uses to pull tricks straight out of the 90s in the hopes of impressing Emperor Eddie of the Kingdom of Macaroon. However, the yo-yo is feeling a bit mischievous and decides to strip the Emperor and reduce him to his boxer shorts, which the latter isn't too happy about, as you can imagine. So in response to his humiliation, he sends his army of penguins in hot pursuit of Penny, who has instantly become a wanted fugitive. As you can tell, the story isn't anything too crazy to write home about, but it's silly and light-hearted enough to give context to the gameplay, which you'll find is the main attraction regardless. At first, you may be thinking that Penny feels very slow and sluggish to control, but don't let that deceive you, as the game wants you to learn the intricacies of using the yo-yo to navigate each level. The game does an excellent job of using such a simple mechanic and then expanding it in many versatile ways. Not only can you use it with the press of a button for a standard attack, but you can choose what direction it goes in with the tilt of the right stick, even if you're facing the opposite direction, so it ends up being the more optimal option. There's also the ability to bounce on it for further height, comparable to Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey, which I don't recall the game actually telling the player, but it's there as an option for traversal if you're feeling creative. Additionally, you can ride on the yo-yo like a wheel, either by charging it up while on the ground, much like Sonic's famous spin dash, or by landing on it while in mid-air, much like the drop dash introduced in Mania. There's also the option to swing in mid-air to cross gaps, as well as a dash attack that propels you forward. So the idea is to chain these moves together to create momentum in conjunction with your surroundings to build up more speed, much like the Blue Hedgehog's own design philosophy. Keeping up these moves without touching the ground for extended periods of time is also very comparable to the likes of character action titles like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, as you build up combo points that ultimately contribute to your overall rank upon level completion, as you aim to rack up more points. Another way the game does this is by sprinkling in little side quests of sorts, such as acquiring collectibles in a segment of the level within a time period, or delivering items to a character at the end of a series of obstacles. Successful completion of these tasks result in bonus points for your final score, as well as the characters you've helped appearing as audience members at the end of the level. Throughout my initial playthrough, I didn't really bother doing these, as I cared more about trying to optimize my speed, and it felt as if I would have to keep stopping and slowing down, which seemed a bit counterintuitive. But at the same time, you can make a case that that's down to skill issues, as maybe the whole point is that it assesses your ability to maintain speed while executing these side tasks in an efficient manner. Overall, these allow the game to have lots of replay value, as you are incentivized to play each level multiple times to optimize your efficiency as you aim for higher scores, a type of gameplay loop that I am a huge fan of, whether that be the levels in Mania or the various challenge mode in the Pikmin series for example, as it's a combination of testing your capacity for speed with technique. The visual style also brings a nice nostalgic feeling that feels reminiscent of games you'd find in the PS2 to GameCube era, with vibrant colours and environments made up of simple shapes that would feel right at home in the 6th generation of consoles. And the characters are brought to life with exaggerated expressions, especially in the cutscenes that admittedly could have a bit more animation to them rather than being still images with minimal movement, but it's a stylistic choice that is still charming either way. As for technical performance on the Switch, it initially launched at 30 frames per second, but an update has bumped that up to 60, so that it's consistent across all platforms it is available on, so you can't really go wrong with whatever you choose to play it on at this point. One thing that I will say though that is a bit problematic, and hopefully it's been fixed by the time this review goes up, is that I did run into a few glitches here and there, or at least encountered issues that I believe were unintentional. For example, in this boss fight where you have to ride along a river without losing speed, I somehow was sent flying after attempting to hold onto my momentum, and the only way out of it was to restart the fight, which was pretty frustrating. Additionally, I have had times where I've got stuck in random obstacles, but restarting the level mostly resolved it, so hopefully this complaint will be irrelevant at some point. I would like to bring special attention to the soundtrack, which sees the return of beloved composer T. Lopes, or T. Lopez, however you're supposed to pronounce it, who I'm sure comes as no surprise to those who were aware of his excellent work on Mania. So it makes sense that he was brought on board for Penny's Big Breakaway, and once again, he fails to disappoint. This game has many memorable tunes sprinkled throughout that feel appropriately whimsical, and Evening Star have even uploaded it all to their YouTube channel if you want to have a listen for yourself. My personal favourite would have to be Chromatic Oscillations, which plays during the factory-themed levels later on in the game, and it just has this nice mechanical futuristic feel to it, while also establishing a rather intense atmosphere. Overall, Penny's Big Breakaway manages to establish its own identity in a generation where we've seen a bit of a resurgence in 3D platformers, so naturally it was difficult to stand out when we have other beloved titles like Super Mario Odyssey, A Hat in Time, and Psychonauts 2 released in the past decade. But I think the yo-yo itself manages to carve a unique appeal that doesn't just feel like a Sonic knockoff. There has been minimal marketing leading up to its release, so I really do hope that it doesn't fade into obscurity, as I believe Evening Star have a lot of potential to grow into a heavily respected indie developer with more original titles going forward. Technical issues aside, I think you're guaranteed to have a good time with it, so long as you're willing to adapt to the momentum-based gameplay. Penny's Big Breakaway gets a thumbs up from Peter Gargan. Anyway, that just about does it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you're thinking of giving Penny's Big Breakaway a go, or if you've already played it and have some thoughts of your own to share, go ahead. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more coverage on other games of interest. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.